When I play Wings of Fire on Roblox, I sometimes see people who are like, hey, you should really add some fades with that, or hey, it needs fades, you should do some fades. Not criticizing anybody here, but sometimes I feel like people think that fades are a required thing for an OC to actually look good. Well, believe it or not, you can actually make OCs look good without fades, and I think a lot of people kind of struggle with that, but I'm going to show you that it is possible, and I'm going to show you how to do it. What you gotta do is follow these techniques. How to make a good-looking OC without fades in Roblox Wings of Fire. If you're making an OC and you're planning on it to look good, but you don't want it to have fades, one of the most important things to remember is to use a good color palette. You can simply just come up with a color palette of your own, but if you struggle with that like I do, you can use a couple strategies that I use. My first recommendation is taking an image, random image, I would recommend pretty ones for better color palettes, and taking some colors out of it. I simply just search up pretty pictures on the internet. I really like this one right here, so I'm going to use it. I open it up here, and then I'm ready to download it onto my computer. You don't have to do the downloading part, you can just make an OC using the color palettes directly just from the picture. But if you want to use specific colors, you can do what I'm doing. You can use any art making app for this. I'm just using Microsoft Paint, and I just take the eyedropper tool and just take colors from the image and put them on the white area next to it, the picture. My strongest recommendation is using colors from parts of the image that are next to each other. For example, the sunset, which is what I'm doing right now. After that, I make separate color palettes using another part of the image, such as the rocks and the grass, so that I can have multiple color palettes to choose from. This whole part is optional, it's just if you need help making color palettes and need help making them from an image. By the way, a majority of this video is dedicated to mostly making SilkWing and RainWing OCs, since they have the color options and it's really just kind of the biggest case here. I'm gonna mention how I do it with the other tribes with limited colors later on. It's just that SilkWings and RainWings are my main priority. So with my color palettes done, I have multiple ones to choose from. So if you want, you can use your multiple color palettes if you made multiple. If you made just one, that's fine too, but if you made multiple, you could choose one or that you like the most, or you could make multiple OCs using the multiple color palettes you just made. Also, if you use the ones I just made, I really don't mind. My favorite one is the one I made from a sunset, so I'm going to use that on a SilkWing. Using the Wings of Fire Roblox's customization system, I tried to get the colors as accurate as I possibly could. Sorry for the background bell sound, that's my cat, she's walking and her tags are jingling. She wears a little bell. But here's how it came out. Keep in mind that this OC does not have any fades at all. It's just a SilkWing made from this color palette, and I think it turned out good. If you want your OC to turn out better, then I recommend doing what I did, and try some of the strategies I did. I gave it a neck ring marking and some tail stripes, and something I see a lot, but if you don't have fades and you want to use these, that actually helps it look better. I also gave it rings around the talons, like ring markings around the talons, and that's something I don't see as often, but I do recommend. If you don't want to do this, but once again you don't want your OC to look like it came from, like you made it with the simple customization, then you could also do what I did and color the bottom jaw the same color as the underbelly. I do that sometimes, especially with SilkWings, because I just think it looks nice. If you do this, though, I do recommend either using all the colors that you generated or the ones that you think look the best together. You can use the color palettes that I used, but I am going to kindly ask you not to steal the OC I just made because I actually ended up liking it. You can use the same color palette on a SilkWing, but just try to make it look different. However, if you do not want to try this method, but you still don't think you can come up with a color palette of your own, then there's always random color palette generator websites. I mean, you probably might be thinking, but these color palette websites aren't very good. They don't generate very good color palettes. Well, there's this one that I really like to use because the color palettes it generates are actually beautiful. I highly recommend coolers.co. The color palettes that it generates are actually really good, and I highly recommend it for this method. If you don't like it, you can just easily generate another one until you find one you really like. And it generates some good color palettes, so that really shouldn't be that hard. Here's the color palette I decided to use. I'm going to make it on a RainWing, which is probably one of the most popular dragons used in this case of the whole video. However, on my main Roblox account, all my RainWing slots are full. I love all of my 5 babies, but so I'm going to make this RainWing on my alt account that also has Roblox Wings of Fire. I'm actually going to show myself make him this time so that you get a better idea. As I work on making him, I go through multiple strategies that you could also use if you're making an OC that doesn't have fades. With RainWings, like with my OC Hibiscus for example, I like to basically connect their front legs with their wings and make them the same color so that it looks like they're connected in a way. It's just a little design idea I like. A similar thing you could do is make the back legs and the underbelly the same color. I find this looks good too, even though I'm not the one who came up with that strategy. Really, I didn't come up with any of the strategies I'm mentioning. Once again, I give it ring markings. I often do this thing with the head and the horns and make them all separate colors because I just think it looks nicer on RainWings. I made the frill an entirely different color than the rest of the head. And another thing you could do is checkered feet. I find checkered feet really underrated, and I want to see it used more. You can also do sock markings. This boy is going to have white socks in his final design, so you can do that too. Once again, with the Wings of Fire customization system, I try to get the colors as accurate as I possibly can. Another thing I like doing with specifically RainWings is coloring their wings a separate color from the rest of their body. I just think it looks kind of natural. I don't really do it much with the other tribes though, because I just think it looks the most natural on RainWings. And here is how this boy turned out. His name is Hyacinth. I love him, and even though he was basically made as a demonstration for this video, I actually ended up really liking him. So I'm going to politely ask you, do not steal him. You can use his color palette or whatever, I guess. Just try to make it look as different as you can and just give the OC a way different name. Because I claim this OC. I actually like him. I think he turned out decent, and keep in mind that he does not have any fades at all. Next, I'm going to be talking about the rest of the tribes. These things that I just listed don't apply to them because they have more color limits. First, I'll be doing some methods on a SkyWing because that's a tribe that I often struggle with myself. I start off by picking some colors that I think just go together. You can't really do the color palette options with these tribes, so I just try to make my best guess. I usually like to pick colors that are close or resemble each other well. Colors such as different shades of red, for example, work really good for this. One of the most important things to pay attention to is just making sure that the colors go good together. That's the key important thing if you want to make a good looking OC without fades. I could just leave it like this, but once again, I am preferring to go for a more professional look. For example, I start doing the common stripes and socks on this SkyWing. I am going for a darker red than the base color because I think that looks nice. I also do a similar thing with the underbelly so that it appears to have stripes on the underbelly as well, but they're not as darkly colored. I think that just gives off a more pretty professional appearance to do what I'm doing here. You can also do this but with a lighter shade of red. I do the socks a lighter shade of red, and as well as the stripes. They are lighter too. I basically did the same thing, but, lighter this time. It can look good both ways. Another thing you could do is stripes on the feet. That's something I don't see as much as socks, and I think it looks cool too, you know. I'm doing a lighter shade for this, but you can do a darker shade too. Now, also, you don't have to do colors that look similar. You could also do colors that contrast, because it works for that too. For example, red and gold. I start by giving the SkyWing gold stripes on the talons instead. I give it a gold underbelly and light-colored ring markings around the neck, still remaining red and gold, but lighter shades. I change up the coloring of the head a bit, making different parts of the head all different colors. The SkyWings have a somewhat customizable head, so I'd like to take advantage of that too, like I do with the RainWings. If you're doing SkyWings without fades, I highly recommend coloring the different head parts individually. I make the wings gold to show that there's more gold in the SkyWing now, but it can still look good. And then I start messing around with feet designs a bit. I give it gold colored socks. Then I color some bits of the socks a darker shade of gold to give it an effect of striped socks. Get creative! I started coloring the front talons red, and I made them checkered, because I definitely recommend checkered feet. They're so underrated. And after that, I start admiring the SkyWing design without fades that I just created. I didn't save it, however, so you could take inspiration from it if you want. Now we're going to be trying these methods on a more difficult dragon, IceWings. I hear a lot of people saying that IceWings are hard to customize because their color options are so limited. But every tribe is possible. I started out with an IceWing design. I'm sorry, that was my cat's bells. She's licking herself and making lots of noise. I started out with an IceWing design that is simple but not too simple. This is a great example of a good-looking fadeless IceWing. It looks rather simple, and it has a bottom jaw color that matches the underbelly. This is something you can definitely do on IceWings for sure because the colors are like pastel. I didn't do this method on SkyWings because you can't really do it well on some tribes. I also colored the different head parts individually. I find what I did definitely recommended. For IceWings, on the top of the head, there's a nice little customizable area where there's like an outer area and an inner area. I made the inner area dark and the outer area really light. You can do what you want with this customizable little area, but I find that what I did looks really good. And I gave it little socks, because socks. I made it so its claws kind of match its colors. It has silver colored scales and silver IceWings. Silver IceWings are so underrated. I almost never see them. I want to see them more, so that's definitely something I recommend. I start changing the length of the socks on the IceWing so that they're longer. Personally, I really like sock markings on IceWings because they just feel natural to me. I also give it white stripe markings, but it's on just the primary scales, not the underbelly. You can do this differently, of course. For instance, I make the underbelly a very light gray or like a more darker shade of white, and then make the stripes on both the primary scales and the underbelly completely white. Get creative and various with the colors. I also try stripes on the feet. Try different methods to see which you like best. In the end, I went with sock markings that are longer in the front. Here's the finished, completed design. I really like it. You can take inspiration if you want. Feel free to take inspiration. I really hope this video helped you out a little more. If you want to make an OC without fades, or if you're thinking about doing it, or if you're wondering if it's possible, I'm showing you it's possible. Helping out the Wings of Fire community more is something I want to do. I want to be beneficial to you guys, because I care about you guys quite a lot. But if you watch through this whole video, I really want you to keep this in mind. I don't have anything against fades. I do fades myself. You've seen it on my OCs before. If you want to do fades, like, I really don't care. Do whatever you want with your OCs. I'm not going to stop you. I'm just saying, like, I don't have anything against fades because I think fades are really pretty and they do help an OC look really good. I'm just showing you that there is more variety to making OCs in Wings of Fire than just giving it fades and calling it good. But one of the messages I really want to say here is, don't let there be limits to your creativity. Let your creativity go wild and be as creative as you like. If you've got some creativity that just wants to be set free, set it free. Don't just keep it chained up, use it to your advantage. And let it go wild. And I have another message besides that. Don't worry about what your dragon character looks like. It doesn't matter if it has heavy fades, choppy fades, smooth fades, slight fades, tail stripes, checkered feet, or just plain simple. Even if you look like a rainbow eyesore monster, it does not matter. Don't worry about what your dragon looks like. Just have fun. Just have fun making OCs. Have fun trying out different kinds of varieties of all sorts of ways to make new OCs. Have fun joining roleplays and roleplaying with people and making friends. Just have fun. That's all you gotta worry about, is to just have fun and don't worry about what you look like. As for the fashion shows, that's all just fun. In the end, we're all just people who love Wings of Fire, trying to have a good time. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you in some way or another. Bye.